Good afternoon. I am Stan Green. This is In the Huddle. I am not Vance Palm.
Nope.
He is no, I'm not as good looking. He is out today. But welcome to the 15th episode of In the Huddle. I'm here with Greg Kerr and Trevor Horn.
Hi.
Hi, guys. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right. 15 of them, huh?
15. Who'd have thought? We didn't think we'd make it to 3.
Vance, gone, better known as in the industry, he's on assignment.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Vance Palm is on special assignment right now. He's going to give us some very, very important information in a week because he will be out on this Friday as well when In the Huddle is at South High School. But before we do that, let's talk about what happened on Friday.
Opening week of league games for the most part. We had a few non-league crossover rivals, but, you know, we got league started in earnest, and the games are not as close as we had anticipated, especially in our game of the week, and it looks like the schedule makers almost got it right by getting the easy games out of the way because we got some big, heavy ones coming this week. So we can get started off right away. Kern Valley got off a good win in the High Desert League, defeating Desert 62-0. I think I alluded to this on Friday during the show. Desert actually played an 8-man game earlier this season. I think they've only got about 19 kids on the squad. So this was a good night for Kern Valley. The quarterback threw for 2 touchdowns, returned 2 touchdowns. One of those things where, you just want to be able to get off on the board early. And so it's good for the Bronx to be able to get that game and move forward with it. So they won 62-0.
That's a tough go for Desert to switch from 8-man to 11. Did you see any of that, Greg?
No, but I was at their game the week before when they lost to Lompoc. And I know the 62-0 win, and they running clock second half, of course, and none of the starters played the second half. So Kern Valley obviously could have, used a game like that because they get ready for Roseman this week, which is actually going to be a pretty tough game.
And I think Kern Valley actually turned out to be one of the toughest games, if not the toughest game on their schedule thus far, because they've been playing. Desert has been playing down lower because they just don't have the numbers right now.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, good for Kern Valley.
We got a Horizon League game, Foothill at Miramonte. This is a game that I really thought could have gone both ways, but Foothill pulled it out. Big win for the Trojans, who are now playoff eligible in Chris Weedle's first year as a head coach. So congratulations to the Trojans to be able to get to that mark because it's not easy to do that sometimes, especially in your first year. You don't really know what's going on. And so good for them. And then Miramonte had a flea flicker on Friday night. So that was a fun highlight. I know Greg saw it. I mean, it was one of those things where the cameraman for Channel 17 didn't even have it. We had to get it from their Huddle account because it was one of those plays where it's like, you've got to be able to show it. Did you guys show it on your show?
We did.
Yeah. It's kind of a fun play, and it's one of those things that's like, how do people still fall for it? But, it's still a fun play to see out there. So Foothill victorious 35-25 over Miramonte.
Let me interject. They fall for it because 2 running teams and the coaches talk running all day long. Had both of them over on this little radio show I do, and all they talked about was the run game. And I asked them both, are you going to, in the back of your mind, be surprised if the other guy throws? And it goes, no, we'll be prepared for it. And that's the first thing Miramonte did was throw the flea flicker for the touchdown.
Your little radio show, ESPN 1230. Yeah.
There you go.
There's a little radio show.
Humbleness there.
Yeah.
From noon to 2, in case you want to check it out.
From the Dean of Kern County Sports.
It was a great show. I love listening to it every day. So I wish we'd have had some music here. I should have thought of this. Al could have played and helped me out who the artist is. You're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration. Who sings that? You're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration. So, anyways,
keep your day job.
Yeah,
it does sound familiar, but I'm not sure who it is.
It's from the 80s.
It was a wrong key. Foothill, you're welcome. Right? We're their inspiration. Every week we've picked against them.
Really?
Oh yeah.
One of my dad's favorite bands, Chicago.
There you go.
Okay.
And they come back and they have let us have it. And I told the guys this morning at Al, I'm like, hey, maybe we pick Foothill or maybe not this week.
You know what? I think the entire Horizon League is improved. Every team in that league is improved. Del Oro's improved, obviously. Foothill's better than they were a year before. Miramonte's better a year they were before. And Golden Valley's team everybody's chasing. Arvin's better than the year before.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's a very improved league.
You are right. Well, with that, let's go on to Golden Valley and Del Oro.
So Golden Valley got off on a winning note also in the Horizon League with a 35-21 win over Del Oro. Joseph Perez led the way with 112 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 Bulldogs with at least 58 rushing yards, and all 4 of them scored a rushing touchdown in the victory for the Bulldogs.
What a great night for the Bulldogs then.
No kidding.
But again, just for perspective, last year that game against Del Oro was ugly. And so, again, kudos to Del Oro for the improvement they made. They scored 21 points. I'm not into participation trophies or moral victories, but you have to look at the big picture, and that is the improvement they're making in year 2. I think they've done a really good job. That was an entertaining game. It was 14-7 at one point. Again, 35-21 is not exactly embarrassing. You just, you didn't win. But Del Oro, again, is really stepped it up.
Well, and that's the thing about the Suns is they go 0-10 last year, and here they are still just 1 win away from being playoff eligible.
Yeah.
That's what they decide to do. So congratulations, Coach Hernandez and their staff and the players playing up. And, in the first year, we've talked about it before, first year with seniors on campus, that they're playing some winning football and they're not just getting run out of the building, because you've seen a lot of schools that are in this situation that still can't get that ball rolling, and they're doing it.
Have you been to that campus?
I haven't yet. I still want to go. I know.
It's a nice campus.
Chris Sanchez keeps telling me to come down there, and it's just I haven't found the time, but
it's nice.
Just everything beautiful.
Beautiful campus. It looks like a college campus.
Yeah.
They may be on in the huddle here in a couple weeks. They're on our list of a possibility. And to speak to what you guys said, I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are candidates for Team of the Year so far. They come to mind as turning it around, doing really well. Foothill comes to mind. There's a couple others as well. But let's move on to Shafter.
Yeah, a little SSL action at Shafter on Friday night, and it was all generals and a 29-0 victory over Taft. Taft having a down year, obviously. Marion Sloan, 187 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Chris Espinoza with 109 rushing yards and a score. I believe they also had a pick 6 in that game, if I'm correct. They had a defensive touchdown in that game at some point. So it was...
They had a lot. In fact, they had a lot of defense because Gerald Perucci was not happy with the offense, despite what Marion did.
Yeah,
and he had a really nice job. That game was 7-0, I think, early third quarter. And Gerald loves his offense, even without Ezekiel Osborne. He was not pleased. He said after the game something along the lines, "My mom always told me if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all."
He did not listen to his mother at Chico. I promise you that.
And Shafter's got two. Shafter's got 2 big ones coming up with Delano this week on the road, and then Kennedy next week. So there's no more gimmies here. They got to be able to play it tough to be able to stay undefeated in the SSL and stay in the fight for the league championship.
Yeah, and what's he looking at for Ezekiel? 3-4 weeks?
They're looking at him possibly playoffs, maybe even the Wasco game on November 1st.
Okay, yeah, they've done really well without him, but obviously they'd be a different team with him.
Well, yeah, you put Marion back out at wide receiver, and you let Zeke just throw the ball over the place. Exactly. Sorry about that. All right, next game in the Valley League. It was Bakersfield Christian, a 43-12 win over Ridgeview. Saw some good things out of Marcus Level. I thought he played Mason Level. He played well at 2 rushing touchdowns and gave Ridgeview an early lead, but the Eagles just kind of, came on and, took that game away in the 43-12 victory for Ridgeview, and they'll be playing Thursday night. We'll get into this week's games here at the end of the show. And then a game that we thought was going to be kind of out of control early was actually out of control early, and that was Centennial moving to 5-1 and 1-0 in the River League with a 55-15 win over Garces. Centennial scored 42 points in the second quarter. Greg, you've been doing this 7 years now,
something like that. Yeah.
How often do you ever see 42 points in a quarter?
Not often at all. In fact, in looking at those highlights, I think there were 4 minutes left, and it was 21-7 or something like that. And then it was 28-7, I think, with about 5 minutes left. And then the halftime was 49-7. Wow. So they scored on a special teams. They scored on a pick 6. They scored on an offensive touchdown, all in the last 5 minutes. It was ridiculous in terms of how things went their direction on that one, and just turned that game into a blowout by halftime.
Very efficient game for Jet Santiago. It was 10 of 15, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, and rushed for another 2 more touchdowns in the game. So 4 total for the junior quarterback for the Golden Hawks.
And can I say a word about Luke Camps? Because every week, I know they had a bye the week before, but every week that kid makes a play either on defense or special teams. And I don't mean just makes a play. I mean, he usually scores. it's amazing how many times he's come up with big plays on defense.
Oh, wow.
He plays like he's a coach's son for some reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
Weird how that all happened.
Centennial is certainly hitting their stride right now. Now, how many yards did my man Jason Grant have?
I think he had 10 on one carry because that's all they needed him to do that night.
He was in disguise wearing number 21.
Trying to hide him. Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's move on to Shafter Stockdale.
Number 9 Frontier with a victory in the first game of River League, a 29-0 victory over Stockdale in a game where there was not an offensive touchdown until 5 minutes left in the game. Frontier elected to go for a fake punt on the 40-yard line in the first quarter, and Logan Slayton took it to the house untouched. In the second quarter, Stockdale was lining up for a 30-yard field goal, and R.J. Green not only blocked the field goal, but it hit him in the face, and he just corralled it, and he literally had nothing but pay dirt for 85 yards.
Yeah.
And then in the third quarter, it was Green who just punched the ball right out of the Stockdale running back's hands, bounced once, and it was Mekhi Watkins who picked it up at the 5-yard line and just strolled right in, made it 22-0. And then finally, with about 5 minutes left, Logan Slayton, for the first offensive score of the game, goes about, I think it was 58 yards to the house, 29-0 victory for Frontier. And they will be without both quarterbacks Thursday night after Carson Queen, the freshman who came in, got injured, a shoulder injury, back blade injury that he's just not going to be able to go. So we're going to see Wildcat out of Frontier, and we'll talk obviously more of that in depth later on. Our last game to go over from Friday night.
Let's finish this Stockdale game.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Our injury reports don't come out until Tuesday. Is that what the NFL does, Craig? So, I don't know what happened to the kid, but I will say this, that the Stockdale Frontier game was interesting because there was a moment there when Stockdale, they got down to about the 10-yard line, and I thought, oh, Lord. I thought Stockdale was going to score and tie it up.
Right.
And I thought this will be interesting to see what happens.
Wide left.
Yeah. Well, no, it got blocked. They got blocked.
Well, there was two. There was a wide left in the first quarter, and then that one got blocked in the second quarter. So they had two different opportunities to get on the board with field goals, and one went wide left. And it looked good from my angle, but it was wide left, and then the other one was blocked, and R.J. Green just went to the house.
Yeah, that was too bad. All right, so go on to the game of the week.
The game of the week, it was two top 25 teams at that moment, but BHS came in and did not start slow this one and just went in there and took command of this game, and it was impressive. Again, on all sides of the ball, Elijah Cavazos, the most efficient quarterback in the Central section right now, has no interceptions. That team actually has no offensive turnovers through 6 games, the Drillers don't. Not a single one. Cavazos, 8 of 11, 208 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bryson Abbott does Bryson Abbott things, 11 carries, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. Harvey Rogers had 103 yards in punt returns alone. That team is just so balanced, and I said it last night, and I'm going to say it again today. I'm no longer making excuses for how good the Drillers are. The Drillers are just good. They're just a good football team. There's no more, look at who they're playing. I don't care anymore. They're beating teams because they're really, really good.
They are electric. Greg, you've seen as many BHS teams as I have because we got here the same year, 1987.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, they look like they're back as far as that program. Rashawn Sheehy's done a great job. Brenton Brown and company. I love the way Brenton Brown plays. He's another guy like Luke Camps. He just makes plays all over the field. And they've just got speed on both sides of the ball. And as Trevor mentioned, no turnovers. That's always a good thing, when you're playing these kind of games. But they can score in clusters too. Was it what was the week 2 or 3 game? Or maybe it was the 3-0 showdown they had against, was it Bullard?
Where it was close. It was like 7-0 at the half.
Yeah, close game for a minute, and then suddenly it wasn't. Because they can just score a ton.
You want to talk about clusters? How about the North High game where they're down 17-7? Yeah, and then I think it is Brenton Brown who picks it off and takes it to the house.
It wasn't Brenton, but you're right. It was a pick 6 in the last couple seconds to tie the game.
And then in the first 2.5 minutes of the third quarter, they scored 3 touchdowns. They just totally turned the game.
Yeah.
They flipped it.
That was quick. I think it was, I don't know, there were 2-3 scores, and I said, all right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to try to get to another game on Friday. And before I got to the car, they had kicked 2 more extra points.
Yes.
And I feel badly for Highland just because they came up against a buzzsaw. I mean,
no
Highland's
Austin Hernandez.
Yeah,
in
that
game
one
too,
hurts.
by the way. That didn't help.
Yeah, and Highland's a good football team, but
they are.
I think BHS is that good. And I'll tell you what, Rashawn Sheehy, I want to go play for that guy, man. He's I love that guy. He's a great human being. All right, well, that wraps up the first quarter here. And we'll be back in the second quarter with Anissa Cerna, the Highland volleyball coach.
All right.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up. With inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy!
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives. Valley Strong's youth accounts teach kids how to save and earn interest on their hard-earned money.
Hey! You should be earning interest on your savings. Make the money work for you.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Welcome back to the second quarter. We're going to talk some volleyball right now. Trevor, what do we have here today as we got some matches coming up this week?
Well, just like Friday, we got the Highland Scots. We just got 2 different Highland Scots in here. We had 2 players in the huddle on Friday, and now we've got another one. We got Riley Martin, a senior defensive specialist here next to me. And then next to you, Greg, is our head coach, Anissa Cerna. You're in your 3rd year as a head coach at Highland.
I am.
Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Not bad. Go ahead, Riley, if you can get just a little bit closer to that mic so we can hear you. Yeah, you can pull it down just a little bit. All right, so you guys got a game tonight, and then we've got our Kern High Network Game of the Week on Wednesday at BHS. Obviously, it's been a little bit of tough go here for the last couple of weeks for you guys. Yeah. But, and this, how do you just give us kind of an overrun of, how you've gone from when you guys started practice in July to now, and, and going from tournament schedule now into league and knowing that the playoffs are just around the corner and you guys are going to be a playoff team this year. So how excited are you, and kind of an overview of this season?
Yeah, I mean, we are really excited. It's been kind of a big theme of our season this year. Obviously, when I started, it was kind of building the program from the ground up, really. And we got a lot of really good freshmen this year, and so that's been a main contributor to our offense kind of building. We have Riley, who's our senior libero, and she's brought so much leadership, and I feel like that's kind of been the puzzle piece that has kind of gotten us where we are, is that senior leadership in our defense and Riley. So, I mean, we're still in the hunt. We've dealt with a lot of really major injuries, and we're missing a lot of our offense from those injuries, and so we're just trying to really be in survival mode and kind of build that winning culture with what we have. So,
Riley, for you, senior year, obviously, I think you guys had like 4 wins your sophomore year. You guys had 7 wins last year. You're at 12 wins now. Where have you seen the maturation of this program and where you guys are now?
I just think that we came together and
came together in what way, Riley? I mean, was there a bonding moment that you could look back at, or is it just something you guys have just been playing together so long, it's just become more cohesive?
I would say the freshmen, the freshmen came in and we did team bondings, and we grew really, really good with practices and everything. And there's a few people that I have played with since sophomore year, and I would think that over the years it has gone stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay.
And you said you had 2 of your players on the show, Rachel Segura, who was the ASB president on your campus, and then we had Alexis Jackson, who's also in ASB, and both of them were on the show Friday. Yeah. And they were like, I was like, hey, you're going to go home and, get a little break? And they're like, what break? We got volleyball practice after school before we get ready for this big football game and all that, and the homecoming and whatnot. So does that help when you have three senior leaders like those two and Riley here that can kind of set the tone and say, no, there's no time off. This window for us together is so small.
Yes.
We have to find the moments now.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of talk about it in the beginning of the season. We are in a temporary marriage, essentially. I mean, we only get a few months with each other, and getting 16 girls to build those relationships, because really in volleyball, you play at the level of your relationships. And so that's kind of like also been a major theme of ours. And so, yeah, I mean, we have these tough conversations about being committed for those next month. And it's so crucial for us because we are kind of still in the hunt and anything can happen. So I feel like, like you have to be committed the whole time, and there are no breaks. Like, we're varsity. You don't get to have a break. So, yeah.
Greg.
Riley, I have a question for you. I have two nieces who both played libero at Colorado State at one point in time. I'm wondering your thoughts in terms of playing that position and what it's like. And, Coach, if you could address after that the importance of a good libero, but your thoughts on your position.
I really like my position. It's really fun to, like, dive for a ball. And I think as libero, you have to be very strong, and you have to be the main of the court, and you have to tell your players what to be doing and everything, and you really have to step up.
Yeah. Coach?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, liberos are 6 rotational players essentially, and so if you do not have a commanding leader, you're not going to be successful, and that's just that. I mean, the serve and pass game is crucial to win volleyball games, and so if you do not have a strong kind of main person back there, you're going to struggle to win volleyball games. And so that position, and Riley has really stepped up. We kind of struggled in the beginning of the season, and I feel like Riley has gotten her groove, and she has been a main contributor to our success.
Yeah, because I think sometimes when we see highlights, outside hitters get all the love and that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And libero seems to me, as I think about it as you're talking, it's sort of like a catcher in baseball. They're in control of the game. They're calling the game, if you will. Is that sort of true?
Yeah. I would say, whenever I watch volleyball, it's so fun to see the hitters, but you mostly, kind of forget that, the liberos are the ones setting up the offense.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to be able to set up any offense if you don't have a libero going down and grabbing a dig. I mean, everything's just going to hit the floor, and then you're just going to be waiting for a side out that never comes. So you have to have a good libero.
Exactly. So, and to be honest with you, that's kind of been when we do scouting report against BHS, we honestly try to take them out, and that was a little bit of our downfall. The last time we played them was they were passing balls like crazy, and we've struggled on serve and pass. So that's going to be kind of our main thing for this upcoming game.
And you alluded to that. So September 23rd, they had the better night in a 3-0 victory. Yeah. How do you make that difference Wednesday night?
Well, I mean, that night in particular, we did have an injury to one of our main offensive players, and it was kind of a big moment, and so that kind of knocked us out of our game and took our offensive player out. But I think this time coming in, our players are prepared, and they know, okay, we're missing this piece, and so I got to step up in this way. And so I think being more mentally prepared for what we have to walk into that game is going to be huge for us.
And when you guys, Riley, when you look at this league, you enjoy playing in it. I mean, obviously, you guys, everybody kind of looks up at BCHS just because of what they have and the talent they have on the floor. But it seems like all the other 4 teams are all just kind of like tightly knit. Mm-hmm. Do you like that, especially with 3 weeks left here in the regular season, be able to play against teams that is going to be the caliber that you're probably going to see in the playoffs?
Yes, I actually do like playing all of them. They're all really good teams, and I kind of think of it as like a way to get better for the next few games. Like BCHS is really good, and that we played BCHS, and I took it as a game that I could have fun, but I could also get better and better and better for the next few games.
And Coach, same thing. I mean, you guys haven't been able to get in the win column in league yet, neither has Ridgeview. But I mean, that script could flip very quickly because you guys, I think between the Drillers and Independence, you guys and Ridgeview, I think you guys are all so similar, and so that it could change. Like a 3-0 for them could be a 3-0 for you, like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes it exciting, to be honest. I feel like we felt a little bit behind the last few years, so I feel like this year is really the year to kind of be neck and neck, and you're right, any game could be anyone's, and so it's been a lot more exciting this year, especially because we are a playoff team, and so it matters. But yeah, it's been really exciting, and all those coaches are my good friends, so I mean, it's even more exciting really to play.
So Riley, we're going to be broadcasting the game Wednesday night. I'm going to be on the call. Vance is off playing dad and watching his daughter play Syracuse when they're at Stanford and Cal. So I love the fact that Vance gets to be able to have that moment with Ava. But what am I going to see out of the Scots on Wednesday?
You're going to see really good defense, and you're going to see our setters being amazing as always, and you're going to see our offense being really, really good.
Did you notice that the libero said defense first? Everybody got that? I wasn't the only one that heard that, right?
No, yes. That's why I smiled.
And Coach, for you, I mean, obviously you love that answer out of her, but, success this week for the Scots is what?
It's pretty crucial. I mean, I feel like, to be honest with you, it'd be a really emotional week for us because I think we need these 2 wins to really kind of boost our confidence going into the next couple weeks. So it's going to be really crucial for us as an emotional kind of win for us. So, yeah.
Okay. When you have you started looking at playoffs and possibilities? Is it D3? Is it D4? What is it?
Yeah, I want to say we're probably D4. We might be in D5. Which I think we can be really successful in.
Mm-hmm.
We've built a lot of mental toughness. We've kind of dealt with these injuries, and so I think where we're placed is appropriate, and so I think we're going to find success.
When you hear her say that, last question for you, Riley. When you hear her say that, how excited are you to be able to have an opportunity in the playoffs and maybe make a run in the playoffs in your senior year?
It's very exciting. I always wanted to go past season, so having an opportunity to go past season is really, really exciting, especially my senior year.
All right. Well, I'm excited for you guys.
Well, the good news, ladies, whether it's D4 or D5, there won't be a BCHS in there,
Exactly.
but that will get you ready for those
Exactly.
teams, right?
Yes,
What
exactly.
doesn't kill you makes you better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good enough. We'll take a break. Third quarter coming at you. Thank you again, ladies, for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up. With inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy!
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives. Valley Strong's youth accounts teach kids how to save and earn interest on their hard-earned money.
Hey! You should be earning interest on your savings. Make the money work for you.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
And welcome back to the third quarter. We're talking more volleyball, and we've got Rhea Kelsey here from BHS. Trevor?
Yeah, junior middle hitter, and you might say junior, and she's not a senior leader, but this team is so junior and freshman heavy that Rhea, I mean, you guys kind of feel like the upperclassmen on this team since you only have one senior that really kind of gets into the rotation on this team, right?
Yeah, we definitely have a really younger team compared to my last 2 years here, and it's a whole different thing having 5 freshmen, I think, compared to not having any last year and me being the only one my freshman year.
And your head coach, Ed Orozco, we talked to her. I talked to her on Wednesday after your guys' victory over Ridgeview, and I was just so impressed how the freshmen have really just kind of become a cohesive unit for you guys, because you could have 4 freshmen on the court at any one time in the rotation you guys have right now. And she said it was one of those things that, it was something you guys kind of saw in the summer when you saw how many freshmen were coming in as a player. Were you excited about it, or were you a little nervous? Do you remember thinking about that during the summer?
I think it made me really excited that we were having more vital parts of our team coming in, because I feel like the last couple years we didn't really have this stable the whole roster was trained. It was just we were playing around one player, and now that all these freshmen came in and they all are a vital part to our team, and I think that without these freshmen, we need them. They're a big part of our team.
And you guys have had some good success this year. Did that take you by surprise, or did you feel like the talent that they had and the work ethic that those freshmen had were going to lend to you guys being able to be a cohesive unit very early on and be able to do what you guys have been able to do thus far?
Yeah, I think all the freshmen come in and they all show that they're their determination and that they want it. And I think that was something we really needed at VHS, and just them being there and them all putting all the work in just made our team overall all better.
Okay. I have a question for you, and I want to talk about a specific player on your team. It's Graziel Silva. You guys call her Grazi. She's Portuguese, and English is not her native language. But she seems just such a bigger personality than what she is. Can you explain exactly what type of person she is before you even explain what type of player she is?
Grazi's just a happy person. Like, if I were to put any, she's just happy, and I feel like she's always in a good mood. And she shows her determination in that she wants us to be good and she wants to win. And before games, we kind of go around and say our team goal and our personal goal. And she always just has, like, the best answer. And she's just, like, enlightened to have on the court and on our team.
And now your head coach says that you're the one that's the vocal leader on the court. Where does that come from for you to be that kind of player?
I think that I was trying to fill the shoes of people in my last years of coming from being the youngest one on the team to being the older leader. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to be there so the younger people have someone to look up to and be a leader for them and show them what being a leader is like.
Okay. Like we've talked about already on the show, our volleyball game of the week is Wednesday with you guys hosting Highland. But tonight is a big game for you guys. You guys are on the road at Independence. You guys are both 2-1 in league, trying to, take that second place outright behind BCHS. How big of a match is tonight for you guys on the road?
I think today is the biggest match. I think we really, if we all go in proving and showing that we won it and work together like we have been in the last couple of games, I think that we'll work really hard and be able to take the win.
How do you focus on, and there shouldn't be any problem focusing on tonight's match, given you're both 2-1, but at the same time, BCHS is out there. You like a second crack at them, maybe a piece of the league championship if you win. How do you focus on what's in front of you and not look ahead to BCHS?
I think that we focused on what team the Independence is, and we took what we know about them into practice, and we focus on what we can do to play our game and also play better than we have at knowing our opponent.
Can you speak to the different dynamics of the roster? You said when you were young and you looked up to people. You still have a pretty young roster, but you're one of the elder players on that team. What's the dynamic like for you now, being the veteran as opposed to being the young one coming up?
I think I have more knowledge, and I can share what I know and help our younger members of our team be a leader one day once they get older, and just lead our team all together to be as successful as we have been.
Does it excite you knowing this is such a young team and how much more potential you have because they haven't gone all the way yet?
Yeah, I think that with all these young freshmen we have, and even past when I'm not here, we're still going to have a solid roster, and I think BHS has a lot coming in the future.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is your whole defensive back line are all freshmen. So you're leaning on them to be able to get your offense in a position early on. Is that seamless for you to be able to get that cohesiveness with them at DS, at libero, and at setter?
Yeah, I think that we all just work so hard together, and we have like kind of synced, I would say, and our back row just like has been doing so well together, and I think us bonding and also us like being a really communicative team, I think that has helped our back row, especially with the young players.
That's awesome.
All right. What's easier, playing volleyball or doing this?
I think both are pretty. Probably volleyball.
Okay, volleyball.
I was going to say, if you find this easy, we can both go and you can just finish up the show if you want to. How do you feel about that, Rhea?
I'll be glad to do it.
Right,
I bet you would.
All right, fourth quarter's coming up next. We'll see if Rhea's going to still be here. We'll be right back.
Valley Strong's youth accounts help kids practice earning and spending in the real world.
So, my rate for dishes is going up. With inflation.
Oh, is it?
Blame the economy!
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives. Valley Strong's youth accounts teach kids how to save and earn interest on their hard-earned money.
Hey! You should be earning interest on your savings. Make the money work for you.
Because when we plant financial literacy young, it grows the rest of their lives.
Welcome back to In the Huddle. This is the fourth quarter. I expected Trevor to be going like this on the football field, holding his forefinger. There you go. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You know, before we get started, I would just like to say that every time we do this, and Greg's had way more experience than us, and you've got way more experience than I do, but it just makes me feel so good about our coaches and our kids when I get to listen to them talk.
Greg, I don't know if you're like me, but I've always said that I've always felt fortunate being in athletics, the high school level, because I feel like you're always talking to the best kids because these are the most, well-rounded kids on campus are the ones that work hardest, that understand time management. And I think that we always tend to find ourselves talking to those that we know are probably going to be much more successful than we ever became in our lives.
The thing I really enjoy as much as anything else is because I sort of live my life by doing something I'm passionate about doing. Yeah. And so you usually get that in athletes as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Athletes will bring you the passion. They will bring you, everything, because they're playing the game for the game, as you can relate to back in the day when you played, when you were younger, you played because of the sport and the game and the friendships and things of that nature. Then college becomes a little bit more of a business, as you well know, Stan. And then the pros is a business. Despite everything you see on Sunday, it's a business. So you get the purest end of this. You get kids who are playing hard, and I really enjoy that aspect of it.
I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's super. I just sit there and play a highlight reel in my head of, Christian Johnson, Mike Gutierrez, Rashawn Sheehy, the volleyball kids. It's just great.
Paul Golan having the kids singing Zippity Doo-Dah on air.
And one of these days, not too far away, we're going to have other kids on here too, theater kids. I look forward to the day that we have some theater kids in here doing an interview.
How about the band kids we've had on? We had esports at West High. I mean, that was fantastic. Yeah. We had entrepreneurship student on there as well. I mean, it's just fantastic to see the well-roundedness in this district.
Is this the point where we talk about the wet bulb and how hot it is again? Or
I guess we're going to have to.
That?
So, so let's go back to that. So last week, Stan, it was hot at 5 p.m. last Friday. How were we able to get games off when, the common knowledge, I think, for everybody was like, well, if it's 100 degrees, you can't play football and you got to push back a half hour. Those times have changed. What are they now?
Yeah, well, that used to be the defining temperature, right? 100 degrees. You have to delay it till after 6 o'clock. We went off the day before projections, and now we're on to new technology thanks to CIF. Wet bulb globe temperature, and it factors in so many different things. A regular temperature, wind, sun angle.
Yeah,
that's what did it for us. The sun angle that made that math equation go down, and we were able to keep below the 92.1 wet bulb globe temperature. And I think we're out of the woods on. I know.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what that actually means. Does that just mean that the sun is at a lower angle, so the temperature's dropping a little bit more because it doesn't have that direct? It hasn't had that direct hit on the region at that point. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that means, and that seems like
my time as a meteorologist, Trevor. No, I think what it boils down to is, when it's dead of summer and it's 108 degrees here and the sun is directly over you and it's just beating down on you
till 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's a different feel than when the sun is at a lower angle. And that's really what it boiled down to. Was I think the sun's at a lower angle. It's not out as long, like you mentioned, and that's just how it goes. So we're not going to have any delays this week, and we're going to go. Are you ready or no? You want to keep going?
No, I'm just going. I'm thinking about where I was on Friday, and actually 5 o'clock was not that hot at Highland. It didn't feel like. And then I left there and I went down to Stockdale, and I was just dripping sweat because it was humid down there for some reason. And that's what people don't understand too. What the temperature is at Highland, a little bit higher of an elevation, is going to be different than what it is at Stockdale when they're right at the riverbed as well.
Yeah, a little microclimates.
Yeah.
Well, so listen, we're going to talk about the games this week, and we'll mention it in here. There's a big change this week on a game that was on a Thursday. Then it got moved to a Friday last week. And then now it's been moved back to Thursday, and we'll cover that at the end of this. Would you like to make that the last game?
Sure, we can do that. All right, so we've got 4 games with current high school district teams in it Thursday night, and 2 of them are top 25 ranked matchups, which is incredible. So the first one we'll get at it is Golden Valley after their victory last week at Miramonte. Miramonte, who lost to Foothill, kind of flips the switch here, the script here, and Golden Valley playing well, running the ball really well. Like we said, they had four guys rush for at least 58 yards, really running the ball well. I look at this game and I see Golden Valley pulling away in a 28-21 victory.
Greg?
They're both going to run the ball, that's for sure. Miramonte loves to run it as well. Nathan Gonzalez is having a heck of a year for the Lions. But I think it's the diversity that you spoke of, that there's so many options that Golden Valley has, whereas when Miramonte has the ball and they're going to run, you usually know it's going to be number one, usually, not all the time. Golden Valley can go into a bag of tricks a little bit more and go with different amount of people. Plus, I just think they have a better roster at this point in time. But like I said earlier in the show, I think all these teams in the horizon have improved. I think the gap between Golden Valley and everyone else is closing. But I still think Golden Valley's the team to beat right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Golden Valley will win this one. The four guys with 58 or more yards is
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's Tatchby-like almost. It just seems like they've been doing that for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty good coaches up there.
So we got a Valley League game on Thursday night. Ridgeview, 0-6 this year, 0-1 after they lost to BCHS last week. At Independence, who's 3-3 and has not played a league game because they had a bye week last week. So Paul Gola coming out of a bye week. Ricky Johnson still out, likely out for the rest of the regular season with a broken bone in his leg. Retooled offensive line for the Falcons, but they still got Gunter Gola and still got a lot of team speed on that one. I got Independence winning this one 35-14 on Thursday night.
I see Independence pulling away in this one, too. Mason Levels improved as a quarterback, is getting more seat time at quarterback. He had a really good first. I was at that game against BCHS. He had a really good first drive. They had some moments there, but BCHS just overwhelmed them with talent and what they have on that side. And so I don't think it was a fair indicator of what Ridgeview is doing. I think Nathan Clonch's team is improving, but sometimes the score doesn't reflect it. But Independence, even more so, despite the injuries you spoke of, not only do they have maybe a better roster at this point in time, they're coming off a bye.
Yep.
And the bye thing, and they're coming off a loss.
Yep.
So I think that's going to...
A big loss.
It's going to bring you a different version, I think, of the Falcons this week because they've had 14 days of Paul Gola telling them to get 2% better. And so we're going to see what happens on this weekend, or this Thursday.
And that's 14 days of 2. That's 28%. That's a lot.
Thank you.
I'm good at math.
I know between that and the wet bulb thing, I got to get Miles Musio here for.
Well, the worst part for Ridgeview, and I just hate it because Nathan's doing a great job, is they're in the toughest league in town. And that we know that league is just tough across the board, and so they get Indy, and then they still have to face BHS, BCHS, Highland. It's going to be that's a tough run of league opponents, and they get a bye in there. So I'm gonna have to go with Independence on that.
I actually think too, just quickly to interject on that, I'm a people watcher. I love watching how people react to victory and defeat, and how they do it, and things of that nature. And you can tell when teams or players are jumping off the ship, or if things aren't working well, or even if the coach might panic, or whatever the case may be, or lose control of the team. None of that's happening at Ridgeview. Despite the losses piling up a little bit right now, I think Nathan's got everything under control. I think that team is playing hard for him. That's all you can really ask.
Good. That's good to hear.
We've got a cross-league rivalry, and it's a big one. Thursday night at Centennial as the number 16 Golden Hawks host undefeated and number 5 BHS. And this is the game. This is a big one because both of these offenses are dual threats. They both got great quarterbacks who are both juniors. They both got great running backs, and they got great receivers, and they both play very well on defense. And this game is going to be... It might be as good as it advertised, but I've got BHS winning this one 35-21 because I've seen enough out of the Drillers to stop making excuses about the quality of opponents that they've played. And they're just, like I said earlier in the show, they're just beating teams badly because they're just better than everybody else right now.
I think this, having seen both these teams a decent amount this year, I just think it's the team that is not going to have a lull. Because we know they both can score in bunches. They both did it last week. They've done it multiple times this year. But I also remember seeing Garza in the first half BHS in the first half against Garza, and they were flat. They led 10-3 in that game against a team that got beat like 40-something the week before. And so neither one of these teams can really have a bad quarter, because if they do, the other team might jump on it. So I'm just saying whoever gives you the best 4 quarters is going to win this game. They're both dynamic offensively and defensively. They got talent all over the place, speed everywhere. It's going to be a great game, and it's not even a league game, but it's a game that has postseason implications.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
I couldn't agree with you more on it. When you say that, the slow starts at the beginning of the season for BHS, because they even had it against North.
Yeah.
And then they go on a bye, and then they just come out and just pound it on Highland right away. So was there a bye week magic? Was there some Rashawn Sheehy, J.O. magic that said, guys, we're not doing this anymore. We're getting the ball. We're starting early. We're getting in front, and we're not letting go of this game. And maybe the bye week, and maybe those games are behind them now. And this is what we saw last Friday against Highland, may be what we may see the rest of the season for the Drillers.
And the same could be said for Centennial, which came off a bye week and scored 49 in the first half. Their only loss was on the road at Moore Park, which is a very winnable game. Very winnable game.
Or a one score, I apologize.
Yeah, one score, right. But I really think that, there's so much talent out there when you watch what BHS is capable of doing offensively, but at the same time, Jason Grant, man, that guy's everywhere on both sides of the ball. They've got just, Roland Myers. They've got, I mentioned Luke Camps, and the list goes on of the kids, Caden Howard, of course, Jet Santiago. I think it's just going to be the team that's on their game, and that's oversimplifying things to go, duh, whoever plays better wins. But I think it's going to be consistency more than anything else, and who doesn't give the other team a short field.
Yep. Did you think at the beginning of the year when we did the first shows that BHS would be 6-0? Was that ever even in either one of your minds? I mean, we know they're always good, but did you ever think that?
I'm going to say yes, but only because Rashawn Sheehy told me so. Not that he said 6-0, but he said they're going to be really good this year. And at the start of the year, before the season even began, he said they're going to be back.
Yeah, and
so
you talk about,
I trust him.
And we talk about slow starts, and I agree with you. I was thinking that when you said that, the North High game too. They started out slow.
Down 17-7.
Yeah, and then I was telling Trevor before the show, when I coached at BHS in the late 90s, we had a ball. We were losing a game, and a ball bounced. A fumble just bounces up in one of our kids' hands. He runs it back, and Tim Hartnett looks at me. He goes, "Driller magic." I said, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "That's the kind of stuff that happens here, man." He goes, "It's just driller magic." And I think about that fumble in the Highland game where the kid just bounced right up in the kid's hands. He runs it back, but yeah, I don't know if I thought that they would be 6-0, but man, what an exciting time for them. And this was a game that we circled at the beginning of the year of this could be a game.
Well, and you think about it, with the way that they're playing, the fact they're undefeated and they're higher ranked than everybody else in the city, they're favored to win their last 4 games, including this one on paper. And that would be the first undefeated season for the Drillers since 2011.
And here's my selection. The team that plays the best 4 quarters. I love that answer. I'm going to use it. Let's go on to the last Thursday game.
Do you not have a dog in this fight?
The problem is I just love both those coaches, man.
Good men.
It's hard for me to do that when I don't have. See, you have to pick. It's hard for me to do that, especially the Starrett threatened me on the sideline a couple weeks ago when I picked against him, so I'm afraid.
You should be, because he gets those eyes staring at you, and you start worrying about your humanity.
He went out of his way to walk up to me, and he goes, "Thanks for picking against us."
I'm glad he did that to you, because I got the softer version of that the next day.
Yeah.
So
you would have run in the stands. I told him, "Let's go." All right, let's move on. Frontier.
That's not very nice.
Frontier Liberty
is now on Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. That was a decision that was made today. I'd like to punt this over to the boss on why this game was moved.
Yeah. So, at the beginning of the year, we knew we had official shortages, and this was just one of those games that was scheduled to be on a Thursday. And, this late in the year, there's homecomings, there's senior nights, our schools plan for a lot of stuff. We tried to move games early as requested by the officials. And then about 8 days ago, Randy Blay from the KCOA called us and said, "Hey, great news. We can move that Frontier Liberty game to Friday." And so we're excited. And Then Randy called me this morning, and I feel really badly for him because Randy is a nice guy.
He really is.
Man.
Great guy.
And he really wanted this to happen, and he had done a bunch of things to make it happen. And then circumstances beyond his control. One of the units he had up north that was going to come down and take a game canceled on him. And they must have done it this morning is the only thing I can think of. And we worked for about an hour and a half, 2 hours just going back and forth. And you got to help us. You got to help us. And he tried and he tried. And he finally just called me and said, hey, I just can't do it. He goes, we got homecomings all over. There's no, we're not going to call school and say, you got to move your homecoming.
No.
Right.
So it's a bummer. But I spoke with Richie Bolin, told him what was going on. He was fine with it. I spoke with the principals at both schools, and they both understood. They're disappointed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's a tough week for Frontier. Knowing that they already have Brady Campbell out for the foreseeable future, and then their freshman Carson Queen comes in and gets injured in the first half and can't play in the second half. They have to run a wildcat between whether it's Kobe Watson or Malcolm Watson or R.J. Green or Logan Slayton. They're four stalwarts there. They ran a wildcat and in that 29-0 victory. And so it'll be very interesting. And then Liberty, they're going with Gavin Parham this week as a starting quarterback. And so, they're on their third different quarterback to start a game. Frontier's going to be on their third, quote-unquote, quarterback to start a game. So what looked like at the beginning of the season, two juggernauts, now you're looking at two teams that are still trying to offensively put those pieces together through injuries. Liberty says that, other than Maldonado, who, sadly broke his leg right before the Independence game, he's doing better, by the way. Richie Bolin did say that he took his homework and a lunch with him today to go see him. So, he's excited that, Matt's in good spirits.
Good.
But no other injuries of that note. They get backup running back Dennis Perry back. Liberty does. Frontier is still kind of banged up. They're still waiting to hear about Karsten Campbell, their starting center, and whether or not he's going to play this week. So, I mean, it's kind of like that toss-up game. Like, what are we going to see Thursday night? We really don't know. So, with the healthiness, and I just see Liberty being able to pull this one out in the narrowest margin, 28-21 victory for Liberty.
I see Liberty. 2 reasons: the quarterback situation and the injuries you mentioned. But also, again, Liberty's coming off a bye, and Frontier just played. So I like that Richie Bolin has had his crew, for 13 days. They are preparing for this game, and here they are. So I like
nice
Liberty.
Catch there, Greg.
I like Liberty in a close one.
It's only 26% better than 2 per day. I feel terrible for Frontier because
I really do.
The only thing that hasn't happened to them, that bad that could have happened is a flat tire on the bus going somewhere.
No, they lose Durkin for the year. He's a terrific player. I mean, they've had some unfortunate injuries.
Yep. I mean, you go 10-0, get knocked out in the first round. You got that as your fuel, and then you're on the road for 14,000 miles, and then you start losing kids. And I just hope that they're able to get healthier as we move along and progress, because the way we're doing the playoffs this year is going to be so advantageous to a team in that second group if that's where they end up. And they got to stay focused on that. Now, all that being said, I do feel like with their injuries, I think Liberty is going to – I give the edge to Liberty in this game.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was talking to Chris Bandy, the Frontier head coach, on the drive here, and I go, I'm sorry, man. It just seems like, after such a great season for you guys last year, you've had to deal with everything this year. He goes, listen, if I didn't believe in God's plan, I would be probably pulling my hair out right now, but I'm staying the course because I understand that there's a reason behind all of this.
I'll say this, that Wildcat they're going to have to run. They have some pretty good options there, so I don't think anybody should overlook Frontier by any stretch. It's just because they're playing Liberty that we're saying, okay, this might be a tough one. But if they were playing a number of other teams, they might be in good
Liberty
shape.
gets after the quarterback probably better than anybody else in town.
Well, I mean, and let's face it, both schools have had problems this year. Yep. So, it'll be we've got a great night of football on Thursday.
Yep.
It's been a great in the huddle, even though we miss our friend Vance Palm.
Miss you, bub.
Yeah, miss you. This Wednesday, we have volleyball live stream. Trevor Horn on the call.
Yep.
Bakersfield High home versus Highland. Thursday night, we're going to live stream football. We got BHS at Centennial. Ooh. And then Friday, we're in the huddle. Greg Kerr is going to host.